Hello and welcome, party people, to episode 2 of the Reactor Corps. This is going to be pretty sweet. We are going to be talking about Infinity War, and we are incredibly excited. My name is Kyle Springer, and along with me for the ride, I have...
It's Melissa Wilkinson!
Hell yes. This is going to be a lot of fun. You saw this movie last night.
Yes,
I saw it Thursday night.
Mm-hmm. And you sent me a message that just said, be prepared. And as soon as I got out of the theater, I sent you a message that said,
prepared.
I wasn't prepared, Kyle! How do we want to tackle something like this? Do we want to, take it topic by topic?
Kind of. So here's what I'm thinking. If anyone has stumbled upon this podcast or YouTube video without realizing that there will be spoilers, let us warn you right now that there will be tons of spoilers. That is the whole point of this podcast. So if you want absolutely no spoilers, you might want to go watch the movie now and then come back. But we are trying to get this up as soon as possible for everyone. Hopefully it's up either later tonight, which we are recording on the Saturday after the movie has come out, or Sunday morning, because we want to get this out as soon as possible. But
yes,
I'm thinking start with just kind of general thoughts, and then we'll kind of dive deeper and deeper in, and then I kind of want to save any speculation and theories of what's going to happen until the end, because I know even with some of that stuff, people can consider that spoilers for Avengers 4, right?
Yeah.
When that happens, because they don't they don't want to know anything, of what might happen.
Yeah, so. We especially don't even know the title, which is bonkers.
Yeah. So we're still waiting on that, and I have some theories, so we will save that for now. But
yes.
I'll start off and say I am an emotional wreck.
Yes!
10 years in the making, 19-something films.
Yeah.
I thought this was incredible.
Yes! It was so... It executed exactly what it set out to do on all fronts. It was so flawlessly competent in just a mind-blowing way.
Yeah, it I it's one of those things, because when I went to go see Civil War, it was I was super excited for it, obviously, but it was one of those things having after I got out of that movie, I was like, wow, that was incredible, but I don't really know if I could give that to just a random person who hasn't really kept up with the MCU and have them know what's going on, because there was 13 other films before it, and this one I think actually kind of works both ways. I think you can kind of hand this film to someone who's never seen a Marvel movie, which if that person exists, show me them, because that that's difficult. But I think while you can watch it, that's definitely not the best way to have seen this. There's so many emotional beats in this film that are...
It's nothing but emotional beats.
that either won't really mean anything to you if you haven't seen them, and I think that's kind of what this whole cinematic universe thing is all about, right? You need to watch all of these things to make something like this matter as much as it does.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? What are you thinking?
So speaking of Civil War, I rewatched it earlier this week, and I've really enjoyed Civil War, but this time, which is my, third or fourth viewing of it, I felt like the action kind of went on a little bit longer than I really wanted to, and I'm not a huge action person. I like the back and forth, the dialogue and things like that, and I was kind of glazing over a little bit. And this movie had none of that. I feel like no scene went on longer than it should have. I feel like it was very well paced. And, like, I was anxious to get to see other characters, but just because I loved them as much as the characters I was seeing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't... Like, it'd be tough to pick, like, a favorite branch of this storyline. It might be the Guardians one. I do really love the Guardians.
Okay.
But it wasn't like when I was watching Doctor Strange and Iron Man. I'm like, come on, dude, where's Rocket at? They balanced everyone out very well.
Yes, I do think there, like, everyone got ample screen time for the most part. There's a couple exceptions. I'm like, man, I wish they had more of this guy, and I'll get to that in a bit. But I find it interesting that you say that you like the dialogue and you thought the action in Civil War went on way too long, and yet this film was nonstop action. Like, from the get-go was just nonstop action.
I think Civil War, like, it's like, that wasn't something I felt the first time. I think it was just after watching it like 4 times that I'm like,
Maybe.
I've seen them punch each other already. Like, there's only so many times I can watch a punch, no matter how good the punch is. I could listen to, like, really great banter forever.
Yeah.
And I think this movie was very good about, especially because it's got such a huge cast and all of them are, like, new to each other, or like they haven't seen each other in a long time. Everyone's always talking.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, Spider-Man catching Mantis in the air and he catches Drax and he's like, I've got you guys.
I got you too.
I don't remember what your names are right now. I'm sorry, but I've got you.
Yeah, it's a big feat. Did you by chance grow up watching the why am I blanking on their names right now? The Justice League cartoons and Justice League Unlimited?
Not really. My brother watched them, and I'd watch them with him occasionally, but I don't have very strong memories about them now.
So if you ever get the spare time, go back and watch them because they're amazing. But they're kind of like this, where they had a huge cast of characters, and like they knew how to give Batman his own screen time because they had Batman the animated series. They knew how to give Superman his own screen time because they had Superman the animated series. But to give Batman and Superman and Green Lantern and Hawkgirl and, you know, whoever else, like, and Wonder Woman, you know, it, like, to do that all at once is a very, very difficult feat. And I think they did a good job of that in Civil War, but then to amplify it even more, when you add the Guardians, you add in, you know, so many other people and new characters.
Yes.
Too, you know.
We're going to get to that.
So I had a blast. Let me ask you this though, before we get any further into the movie, what was your experience like at the actual theater? Did you have a good experience there?
I did. There's this theater that is not in my neighborhood. It's like a solid 30-40 minutes drive away. But we go to it a lot because it is called The Galaxy.
There you go.
So we went to it for the first time, like, oh, let's go see Guardians of the Galaxy here, of course.
At the Galaxy,
we just keep going back to this one theater for, like, every sci-fi movie just to stay on theme. And we're in the huge mega screen theater. We've got our dedicated reserved seats.
There you go.
The theater is packed. It was really fun. And I'll say one thing. I don't think I've said this on mic, but I'm from St. Louis, and so when Peter Quill mentions that he's from Missouri, everybody, like, cheers and, like, throws their arms up in the air. Whenever I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2, like, when Missouri, like, flashed across the screen, everybody in the theater was just applauding.
Was that you that I saw on Twitter who posted the gif of Avatar, The Last Airbender?
No!
Someone else that I follow on Twitter had the same thing. They're like, I'm from Missouri. I'm right there. So when he says I'm from Missouri, the whole theater is just like, yeah. And specifically, I'm not I'm not from Earth. I'm from Missouri. But they posted a GIF of Avatar: The Last Airbender, or it might have been Legend of Korra, when the Avatar comes to this little small town and the people are freaking out, and this one woman starts like foaming at the mouth and just like
yes, I've seen this.
Everyone is just going wild.
Yeah, so we had that moment together, and then, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but during the end credits, like, as soon as the movie ended, and as soon as it was, like, directed by Joe and Anthony Russo, the whole audience is just, like, hissing at each other through gritted teeth, like, what are they doing? What's gonna happen next? And what's the post-credit sequence? Like, everyone is so tense, and there's such a fervor.
Yeah.
And I've never seen exactly that kind of energy in a theater before, where we're, like, mad. We are, like, filled with anticipation, and we're riled up.
Yeah. It was really funny for me because I went to the theater that's closest to me, and it's nothing special. We don't have reserved seats and stuff like that. The seats are actually terrible. but it's the closest theater to me, and I remember I talked about this with Paul in the first episode of the Reactor Corps that we did for Black Panther.
Yeah.
How the experience of going to that theater was amazing, because I live in Richmond, so it's a city that is predominantly black, at least from what I understand. But so I'm kind of surrounded by that all the time, but then in such a concentrated space, and to see everyone not only like in Marvel shirts or cosplay, but in full-on African garb, like, that energy was amazing. This didn't have it, though.
I think I might have seen a...
I mean, people were still in their like Marvel shirts and in cosplay and stuff like that, but it was so much more a mixed bag of different types of people and stuff like that. And while everyone was still excited, there wasn't, at least for me, there wasn't that like, I'm witnessing something really cool happening here. Like, I am in someone else's cultures, and I'm getting to witness that. This was just like, this is everyone here, which is still super neat, but it was just like, whoa, this is a very different vibe from Black Panther. That's cool.
I think I might have seen a couple pieces of African garb in my theater. And I think what might have been different about this movie is that Black Panther, we knew, was going to be a celebration. Just this big, vibrant roller coaster. And Infinity War,
really say is a celebration.
Yeah, Infinity War,
maybe more
like,
of a culmination.
Yes. So, like, we're excited, but we're not joyous. We're very stressed out.
I mean, we were, like, I've seen a bunch of memes going around afterwards of, like, before seeing Infinity War afterwards, and it's like Thor or someone, he's sitting there, all happy and smiling, and then afterwards he's just, like, straight-faced. And it's just like, oh, God.
Yeah.
That was an exhausting movie.
It was, although I will say it didn't feel long. Like, that's what my friend said as soon as it ended. She's like, that was the fastest 2.5 hours I've ever seen.
It was like 2.5, 2 and 40 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, it's just emotionally exhausting.
And it could have gone on for 2 more hours and I would have been totally fine.
Absolutely, but we'll just have to do it next year when they marathon both of them together in the theaters.
Cannot come fast enough. But yeah, so I thought this movie was really, really great. I think the pacing worked really well. I don't know if I would say it's great pacing, only because it's non-stop action and you don't ever have a chance to catch your breath until afterwards, and then you're just like, oh God, what do I do with myself?
I feel like they gave us enough breaks in that there were scenes that were just like two characters and they were quieter. Like a lot of the scenes between Thanos and Gamora kind of acted as like a break where it's like, okay, it's not eight people yelling at each other.
I can see that. That makes sense. Yeah, it's a good point. But yeah,
it's
like
definitely not paced like any other movie I've seen.
I never felt like it dragged or stuff, and even then, most movies that I feel like are a drag, it's usually in their second act.
Yeah.
And it's usually not until after I've seen the movie and it's kind of sunk in that I've been like, you know what, that they probably could have wrapped that up a lot sooner or done something else. Unless the movie is just really bad, and I think the whole thing is a drag, and I'm like, oh god, this is terrible. But yeah, this I don't think was the case. It was paced really well, and we've mentioned that there was action basically nonstop. Yeah. But I think on top of that, this movie, like at its core, has this strong emotional, like engine that is making the whole thing move forward. For all of the characters, because like we said, this is kind of the culmination of everything that's been happening in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far.
Yep.
And I think in that term, the standout character, in the sense of like emotional stuff, I think the standout characters are easily Thanos, Iron Man, and I guess you could say, I don't know if I would say Captain America, but I would put Spider-Man up there as well, as maybe a runner-up.
I'd put Peter, Quill, and Gamora up there. There's two Peters in this movie. We also have two Steves, but nobody's calling Doctor Strange
and they're all
Steve.
named Chris.
So many Chris's!
But
which Chris was your favorite?
All of them. They are all Chris.
It's tough to pick.
No, and like I think those were the standout like emotional characters, but then I think just standout characters in general to me was Thanos, Doctor Strange, and Thor.
Yeah.
I liked Doctor Strange's movie. I didn't think it was amazing. I mean, it's still like the Marvel standard where like they haven't had a bad movie yet. They're all great.
No,
it's just in comparison to some of them, they're just not as good. And Doctor Strange's movie didn't really do anything for me, but I loved him in this.
Yeah,
I thought he was fantastic. And I mentioned this to someone else. I feel like he would make a great Hulk-like character in the MCU going forward. In the not in the sense that he's like big and strong or anything, but like in the sense that he doesn't get any more of his own movies, but that he's the character that just kind of shows up in everyone else's. I think that would be awesome, and I think he'd be perfect for that role.
Yeah,
because he's just.
I would love to see him as just the continual resource.
Yeah, and just he's gonna do something really strange and fucked up, and everyone's gonna be like, "What is going on?" But yeah, and so I think those characters were kind of the standout ones. I think for a lot of people, especially those who don't know Thanos and what he's kind of about. You and I had the opportunity to read Infinity Gauntlet, which is one of the comics that this movie was pulling from. We read that last week. Our episode on it is already out. You guys can go listen to it right now. That's episode 4 of the review show. As of recording this, though, everything is going to be on one iTunes feed, so you can all find it in one place. That might be changing very shortly, so go look on our Twitter at the Whatnauts or on our website, which will be coming down the road very soon. That is in the works, which will be the whatnauts.com, but right now that leads you to something else. So, but yeah, like we kind of knew what Thanos was about. And I think we knew some of his emotional beats and stuff like that, and what, like, I knew he was going to be a good villain.
Yes.
I didn't know he was going to be this good.
Yeah, and I was really surprised. I thought we were going to get to see death in this movie, and we don't. But I kind of like that this is the movie about his role as a father, and maybe the next one's going to be the movie about his role as a lover.
Maybe I might disagree with that. I don't think they're gonna do the character of death, and I think if they did, they should have used Hela.
Oh, yeah.
That was my, like, long ago in a galaxy far, far away. That was my theory, that Thanos was in love with her, and that when she comes to Earth and then, like, gets beat, that's when she's mad and is like, hey, Thanos, fuck him up, you know?
Ooh. That would have also been good.
Yeah, and that didn't happen. But you know what? I think this is one of the rare occasions that I think the movie was better than the book.
Oh, yeah.
I think what they did with the character of Thanos and his kind of motivations, I liked that a lot more than just him being this kind of, like, puppy dog guy, like, oh, death, I love you.
Yeah.
Notice me, senpai. You know.
Yeah.
And I think while that is still fine motivation for what he does in the comics, and I'm still interested to see what he does and stuff like that, I liked this better. I mean, it's people always bring up Magneto when you talk about, like, compelling villains. At least I say people always do, at least in the comic book world.
Yeah, for sure.
They always bring up Magneto because, yes, he's a villain, but yeah, he's made some very valid points, and he's not necessarily wrong.
Yeah.
You know, he might just be going about it in the wrong way. And I think that's exactly what they did with Thanos, too. Like, he has noble intentions. He thinks he's the good guy. He's wanting to actually help people. And from his perspective, yeah, the Avengers are the bad guys of this film. And he wins. And the good guys beat the bad guys, according to him. And that's why at the end, that end scene when he's on the farm, which they kind of pulled directly, out of the comics when he's sitting there on the farm. Almost, that scene goes differently in the comics, but he sits down and he just has this content look on his face. He's just like, I'm done. I'm happy. I'm proud of myself, but I'm done. I don't have to do that anymore. I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
And
his face.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Like he was just satisfied.
No. And his face had some reverence and, like, respect for the loss, but there's no regret at all.
Yeah.
And I wrote in my notes about the Infinity Gauntlet book that this is a Thanos with no tenderness. He's just a giant blowhard. He's yelling the whole time. This is a very tender Thanos in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, you can see how he's not a good dad, but he thinks he's a good dad, and you understand how he thinks that.
He's the tough love kind of dad. Where it's like, yeah, you actually weren't a good parent, but yeah, you kind of made Gamora what she is, and she's a survivor, and she knows how to survive, and she can take care of herself, and that's a good thing. But you were still a dick, you know?
Yes. And, like, when he throws her into that pit, which is heartbreaking, I was expecting something very abrupt. I was expecting him to just, like, shove her and get it over with. Instead, he, and like,
it's a struggle.
As gently as this giant man can, he, like, reaches out and he takes her arm and he kind of leads her along, and, like, he's not good at it, but I think he knows what, like, love and kindness and tenderness is.
Yeah.
And he kind of makes an attempt towards it.
Yeah, if we're taking notes from the comics, yeah, he knows what love kind of is. Debatable, but yeah, like, I mean, he's not a stranger to that concept, though. I guess a more apt way of putting it.
Yes.
He might have some delusions about what it is or how to get it, but
yeah.
Yeah, so I saw that coming from a mile away. Of like, oh, he's gonna kill her.
And
so I didn't really have any kind of empathy for him at that moment. As much of a struggle as that was for for him, for Gamora, and just seeing that, like, no, I don't want Gamora to die.
Yes.
It like, I like seeing him struggle with it. I was kind of like, okay, dude. Really? Like, single tear? Come on.
Yeah.
That was kind of the only thing I was just like, I don't know if I believe that. I mean, I guess overall I do, but it's one of those things. It's like, okay, I'm reluctant, but I'll suspend my disbelief.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That, so. I could not see that entire scene coming. I mean, once we were in there, I knew, okay, he's gonna throw her down into the pit and, like, prove his love for her as he is murdering her and about to destroy all of her friends. Like, once we started, I could see that's where it was going to end. But the entire scene where, like, they go to this ghostly planet and then out comes Red Skull. Yeah. And he's like, you gotta throw someone in the pit to get the soul gem. Like,
that was one of the biggest oh shit moments in the theaters. Like, again, to get back to, like, my experience at the theater, people were clapping for everything. Well, actually, back it up. The first trailer that played was, I think, the, like, Littlefoot trailer. I don't know. It was some dumb one. Second one that comes on was Solo. And people were talking through both of those opening trailers, and then Deadpool 2, I think, was the next one, and everyone shut up and was silent, and it's just like, let's watch this. But, like, Star Wars, no respect. no respect. People were talking, like Lando came on, and you saw the, like, but then that was it, and people got silent for another Marvel film. The movie started. When all the characters started showing up. When Captain America first, like, steps out of the shadows, everyone's like, "Wah!"
Yeah, I think I did hear, like, tremors in our audience when he shows up and does that. We were
going wild. It was great. When they show Wakanda. Yeah!
Yes!
It was fantastic. And yeah, like, it like, we had a whole bunch of those moments, but one of the biggest, like, oh shit, was when Red Skull came on, and we're like, what is happening? What? Because like, no one saw that coming.
No.
Like, absolutely no one.
Expecting a shock like that.
In any of my theories or ones that I heard or read about, no one even paid a single grain of salt to a thought of Red Skull.
Like, I knew this movie was going to be full of, like, cameos and things, and, like, oh, we're bringing back this older character who we haven't seen in a while. Like, we're dragging out all these supporting players as part of this giant battle. No, I did not think about Red Skull.
Let me ask you this, though. Here was a thought that crossed my mind, especially after reading the comic. Do you think that's Mephisto?
I thought that the Squidward guy was supposed to be Mephisto. Not, like, actually Mephisto, like, this is the MCU's devil, but, like, filling the same role as Mephisto. as he does in the Infinity Gauntlet comic. But yeah, I can kind of see Red Skull as a Mephisto.
It'd be an interesting thing. I mean, I guess technically he's not, because he said what his role is. Like, he is the guardian of that stone, and like he's the one that will actually tell people how to get it. And like that's his role. That's the entirety of his role. Which is some to go back to the comics. Jim Starlin's writing is very we mentioned, like, very classical Greek literature, very thematic, very much plays on like dichotomies, of, I don't know, I'm talking out of my ass here, but yeah, like it has this kind of grandiose classical feeling, and I think just having Red Skull show up in a role like that is very Jim Starlin of just like there's really no other rhyme or reason for him other than that he is the guardian of this one stone, and he will tell you how to get the stone, and he just exists somewhere. God knows where. And that's it.
Yeah, that is mythic.
Yeah.
To have somebody who just exists to guard something and not do anything else. And they are like an old enemy resurrected now in a form of servitude to this magic object.
Yeah, just like the like ferryman, boat people, men, something that will take people across the river Styx. Like, that's their only job. That's what they do. They're a
like
taxi service.
He's the Heimdall of the Soul Stone, I guess.
Kinda, yeah. Poor Heimdall, man. Fuck.
Yeah!
Short stick in this film.
Yeah, lots of brutal things. And I was talking with my friend, like, we imagine everyone that got turned into, like, crumbled up leaf dust, they're coming back, but, like, Heimdall, Loki, maybe even Gamora, like, they might be out.
We'll get into that, because there's some theories with that, but we'll save that for a little bit. So let's see. Talked about Red Skull. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the other, like, absolute shocking moment, like, I had no idea this was coming, was when Peter Dinklage shows up.
That, yeah. And he's a giant.
Yes, which is so funny.
Amazing. I was like, that is great.
This whole, like, meta layer onto the entire thing.
That was great.
And I knew Thor was going to get a new weapon because my brother works at a Toys R Us right now until the Toys R Us dies in a matter of weeks, maybe months. And he had gotten spoiled from the toys. Like, there's a Stormbreaker toy in his store now, and he's like, well, I guess Mjolnir's gone and Thor's gonna go make this.
Yeah.
So I knew that was happening, but, like, the details of how it was gonna happen, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I love that Groot is part of it, though. Like, he told me, oh yeah, it's this new weapon, it's got, like, a handle that looks like it's made out of branches and wood, and I could not put it together. Oh, that's Groot. Groot is part of this weapon.
Like, even if that wasn't Groot, that's something I expect to see in that, like, Norse kind of weaponry of just, like, I'm gonna mix metal and stone and wood, and it's gonna be fucking badass.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if anybody else could have seen, like, the final design out of context for Stormbreaker and then be like, what if that wood is Groot, though?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past some people.
Yeah.
But like, so that happened. That was like a funny oh shit moment. It was like, wait, is that?
Yes.
That is. Wait, he's a.
Yes.
He is. So that was interesting. I will have to say the other big oh shit moment, or more of an oh no moment, was Black Panther. When he dies.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
yes!
Because you thought Okoye was going to be the one, and they did the old bait and switch. And you don't even see most of it, but you see his arm go, like, when he, like, picks her up. and it just his arm goes, and everyone was like, "No! How
But
dare
at least, I think that was the signal to me, like, okay, this thing definitely cannot be permanent. Like, I think the first person to disappear is Bucky. And I'm like, oh, like, the story could do a lot more with Bucky, but if this is the end of Bucky, that I kind of get it. But, like, you are not taking T'Challa at this point. So this has to be impermanent, the entire thing.
Yeah, and Spider-Man too,
Yeah!
because they both have
We'll
confirmed
get to that.
sequels. But we'll get to that stuff. Let's see. Anything else?
I would like to take a second and talk about, we talked a lot about, like, pacing. I want to talk about the tone, in that this movie was somehow, like, the most tense and the most heartbreaking, but also one of the funniest Marvel movies.
Yes.
I feel like they used the humor, like, they used it at the appropriate times, and they did it really well. Like, I burst out laughing a couple times.
As much as I love Thor Ragnarok, which I would say is probably the funniest movie, maybe Guardians 1 can be, put up there too, or some people I'm sure big Guardians was way funnier. But I that was my one problem with Thor Ragnarok, is that, I liked the comedy, there was just too much of it. And I would have, there were times where you had this really emotional beat, and you just kind of interrupted it with a fart joke, It's like, come on, guys, you could have let that go for, like, a couple more seconds, and let it sink in. But this, I think, like you said, did a good job. It was mixed in really well.
And some of it was, like, joke stuff, like, I love Star-Lord shouting, "Where is Gamora?" And Tony Stark's like, "Who is Gamora?" And the Drax shouts, "Why is Gamora?"
Yeah. How do you
but
one better? Why is Gamora?
But a lot of the comedy, the best stuff was, like,
Drax
the very character-based stuff. Drax is the best. But I love when Peter Parker tries to introduce himself to Doctor Strange's cloak, like, holds a hand out and says, "Hi,
we
I'm
haven't been
Peter."
formally introduced.
Yeah, the character-based, like, comedy moments like that were so good in this movie.
Yeah. Ned Leeds. Fucking Ned Leeds. Ned, I need you to make a distraction. He looks out the window. Oh God, we're all gonna die!
Oh God, and he's right though. Ned could be turned to leaf dust also, as far as we know.
Yeah. There's so many characters that we don't know who are either alive or dead yet.
Like, Aunt May had better be okay.
I mean,
I'm very protective of Aunt May.
Aunt May in the comics needs to just get done with it. Get it over with. She's died once.
That.
We talked about the whole one more day thing, but it's just, man, yeah. So I
can definitely see that in the comics, but I like the current MCU Aunt May is a favorite of mine.
Sure. But yeah, like I think the comedy was used really well, because it was a mix of everyone's comedy. It wasn't just Drax's comedy the entire movie, Like, you had a little bit of that. You had a little bit of Peter's. You had a little bit of Peter Quill's. You had a little bit, you had a little bit of Tony Stark. And then you had the like, you mix that in with the seriousness of Captain America, of Thor, of Falcon, of all of them, and it works really well. And that is an incredible feat, to have that many characters to all get really awesome moments, and moments you didn't even know you wanted to, right?
Yes.
Like the like team up with Black Widow and Okoye as they're hiding. I don't even remember her. I think which I'm not sure which of the Thanos' 4 horsemen were which. I know one is named Ebony Maw. One is God damn it, Proxima. I think Proxima Midnight is the one that they fought. That's the female one.
Yeah, that sounds like a name.
But yeah, like when who is she about to kill?
Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, Scarlet Witch,
Who's
and she's like,
one
now
of my
I've got
favorites
you alone.
also.
and then she's not alone in Black Widows there. Like, that moment is awesome, and I never knew I wanted that. And I saw it, and I was like, this is amazing. This is exactly what I wanted.
And the movie gave me a lot of things that I wanted, and then when it gave it to me, I'm like, oh no, I was bad to ask for this. Like, do you know in Ghostbusters when...
Have you heard of this really old movie called Ghostbusters? Really old movie called Aliens?
When they're asked, choose the form of your destructor, and then Ray's like, I didn't know, I tried to clear my mind, and then I thought of like the purest thing I could think of, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. He'd never hurt us, and then he definitely hurts them. Like, this is how I felt, because I'm sitting there at the beginning of the movie when like there's Iron Man and he's giving Spider-Man his new suit and they're all fun, and I'm like, it looks like Peter just really wants a hug from Tony. And then I get it at the end, and I'm crying, and I'm like, I chose the form of my own destruction. I did this to me.
Yeah, you're like,
and I also went in...
I set myself up for this one.
Yes! Oh, that was, I think, the most heart-wrenching part. Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
That got me, yeah.
That part, I also wanted more Wanda and Vision out of this movie, because I like that relationship a lot, and, to have like a big climactic moment of this movie hinge on their relationship to each other, it's like, I feel fulfilled and also deeply terrible.
Yeah. So, side note here, Vision and Scarlet Witch, yes, their kind of relationship is a very important one in the comics, though it doesn't last.
No.
They eventually kind of go their separate ways, and there was a recent run on the character of Vision, a 12-issue miniseries written by Tom King.
Yeah.
We did an episode on it, Paul and I, when our like book club style podcast, which is now called the Review Show, but when that used to be called the Whatnauts podcast, we did an episode on the Vision, and I'm showing you on camera, but this is it.
Ooh, that's a handsome book.
This is the hardcover, but yeah, so he ends up having his own like, I forget exactly what he is. I know he's not a robot exactly, but he ends up having his own like robot wife and kids.
Yeah, I remember seeing like that cover around. I was like vaguely familiar with the Vision title.
And it's really good. I'd say one of my favorite comics that I've ever read. Holy shit.
Nice.
Just dropped it. Not so nice. But no, it's the pitch is like it's Breaking Bad, but for the Vision. So he like something happens that he's not supposed to do, and he just digs himself deeper and deeper and deeper into this hole, and it's just like, oh shit, what do I do? Fuck, what do I do? Fuck. So it's really good. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out sometime.
But yeah, like I can see that, especially since we don't know what's going to happen going forward in the MCU. I could even see them exploring something like that if they end up resurrect, because he didn't turn to dust. His body is still there. It's just deactivated. So if they like bring him back, right, he has to kind of deal with everything that happens. But then if they try and make him more normal, like if he's like, okay guy, like I'm done with the Avengers, I just kind of want to live a normal life, and so they help him out. It's like, okay, well we'll give you a wife and 2 kids, and that way you can live this quote unquote normal human life. And that's a lot about what the book is about too. Like, what does it mean to be human and normal? And like, is it normal to have problems and stuff like that? And so it's kind of like I would kind of like to see something like that for that character moving forward. But that's just a big side note. I digress though.
While we're kind of on this topic, I would like to talk about all the romance in this movie. Which I think we got just because it is so many different characters and their relationships all put together.
It's kind of just more one-liners, I felt like. Like, we see Iron Man and Pepper, right?
Yeah.
We see, like you said, Vision and Scarlet Witch. I think that's the one we get the most of.
Yeah, but Star-Lord and Gamora, I think I really liked. I mean, I liked it in that it hurt very much, that part of the movie.
I think that's the one where we got the most progress.
Yes! Like, I wasn't expecting them to get to I love you within half an hour of this movie.
Yeah.
And the part, this might be, like, one of my favorite moments in this film, when she tells him, swear on your mom.
Yeah.
Because I love the continuing relationship with Peter and his memories of his mother, and, like, how she recognizes that, and how he says, yes, if I made this promise on my mom, I have to keep it.
Yeah.
And that he trusts Gamora so much that he's like, this sounds insane to me, but if you told me this is what we have to do, and you brought in, like, the most important thing to me to make me swear on, I will do it.
Yeah. So that was rough. And then when he finds out that she's dead, he just goes nuts.
Yes!
Heartbreaking
Very
stuff.
much. Ugh.
I feel like that's kind of all I have to say about the film.
It's... I have a lot to say about it, just in general. Like, just the end, like, I like how this crept into horror, kind of.
Almost.
Like, yeah, like with the beginning, with that giant spinning space donut coming down on the city, that's, like, very tense
Sci-fi
in a way
horror.
I don't think any other, like, natural, like, not natural disaster, but, like, big sci-fi space disaster has been. Like, that felt more frightening than, like, either the two Avengers movies or anything else where there's, like, giant citywide destruction. Just this big, weird spinning wheel in the sky. What does that mean?
I think the way that they... Because obviously, again, stuff like Civil War had big bombastic action like that.
Yeah.
Even Avengers 1 had the aliens flying all over New York, and they're huge. And I think they got it better with Civil War, but I think this really showed... Because I think, and I sound like I'm rambling now, but... I think the scene that really hit me for, wow, they're showing the destruction and the chaos really, really well, was actually the end credits scene with Nick Fury and Agent Hill.
That too!
When the helicopter kind of is, like, spinning out and crashes into the building, I really got 9/11 vibes. And then thinking about that through the entire film of just...
Yes.
Like, Tony Stark at the start walking out of the Sanctum Sanctorum, and he's just seeing people running by, and they're going both directions. Like, it's not... no one knows what to do.
Yes.
It's like, do I run that way or this way? Some people are going one way, some are going that way. Like, what is happening? And I think they really nailed that.
Yeah. And the turning into leaf dust. It reminds me of, like, when you see a leaf on the ground in the fall that has been stepped on so many times, it's just like tiny particles.
Yeah.
When everybody did that, like, I did not see that effect coming, because in the comic book, don't they just, like, vanish? They just like vorp out of existence.
Bamf.
Yeah. And this is so much worse, and just the way... Like, everything's slightly different.
To see it happen, instead of it just, it's there 1 second, and then, next it's not.
Yeah, and, like, some people, like, Bucky's last word is Steve. Rhodey doesn't know where Sam went. He thinks he just can't see Sam. And almost
steps on him, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, Wanda looks relieved when she crumbles into non-existence, which is heartbreaking.
But she also is kind of the goth kid of the Avengers. She's the witchy goth kid, just like, yes, finally death.
Like, that was the most brutal ending to a movie I think I've ever seen. And, like, that's not how... This is impermanent, like I said, but it hurts so bad to watch it, and it's something you're not expecting.
Yeah.
Like, if half the MCU was going to die, I would have thought it would have been something like they just vanish, or, like, there's a cataclysm, like, oh, they're trapped in a destruction or something like that, something physical, something environmental, but to have them just evaporate out of the landscape and everything around them is perfectly intact is very visceral.
Yeah. I mean, I was expecting Captain America to die. I was expecting Tony Stark to die.
Yes.
I was expecting Vision to die. I didn't know who, but I was expecting someone from the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Not all of them, except for Rocket.
Yeah.
The ones I were expecting to stay alive was Bucky, Black Panther, and Spider-Man. Those are the three that I knew. Which and for people who don't go see any spoilers. Like, I'm sure that was, a huge surprise, but then they also don't know what's coming up necessarily.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the downside for me. I know a little bit more about what's coming up. So when they kill off Spider-Man, when they kill off Bucky, and they kill off Black Panther, I'm like, okay, I know that's not going to stick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's still, like, it was, like, there was a woman in the row behind me and a couple seats down, last third of that film, just audibly crying, just sobbing.
Yeah.
And
it's rough.
Yeah, and I could tell she loves these movies, but she has no idea, like, what's gonna happen down the road. That, like, hey, Black Panther actually has a sequel confirmed that's taking place after these events, so does Spider-Man, like, because at one point, like, I forget who it had, but, like, you heard her say, "What is happening?" Like, she was distraught, and I was just like, man, to be, like, if like, on one hand, I kind of wanted to be in her shoes to not know, and just all of this is new, and it's just, what in the world, but I'm like, I don't mind spoilers all that much, so it's just like, I kind of want to know, and I kind of know the comics a little bit too, so I already kind of know what's gonna happen, but not really, and so, like, but that puts me in a totally different space where it's like they can kind of play on my expectations and stuff like that of what, just because there's a Black Panther movie coming up, there is precedent for Shuri being the Black Panther.
Oh yes.
There was a not super long, but there was a run where he is missing, he's gone, and Shuri takes up the mantle because she is the next in line.
Yeah.
So, like, so something like that wouldn't necessarily surprise me, but I don't expect that. So yeah, there's all sorts of things they could do.
Yeah, like, I knew this was going to be full of deaths, whether or not they are permanent. But
right.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting who ended up disappearing. I will say, I mean, Hawkeye wasn't in this. We don't know what his status is. But I kind of like that if he's okay, we've got, like, the original Shawarma 6 still around for the final Avengers, which I love this whole community. I love everybody coming together, but the bookend of it being the 6 of them, I kind of like.
I didn't put that together, that the original 6 are still there. That's cool. Yeah, I think that. I think that'll be fun. Fun, I say in quotation marks. This movie, like, this was an emotional roller coaster, but I
like, I'm glad it's doing this to me. Like, this isn't something I've come to expect out of, like, superhero popcorn movies that are just fun and have, like, very touching moments. But, like, oh, this is brutal. And it's, like, exciting how brutal it is.
Yeah, eat that, James Cameron.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, like, I don't know, man. They're doing some awesome stuff.
Yeah. Do we want to get into theories?
Yes, I do want to get into theories.
Okay. Where do you want to start?
I want to hear yours first.
Okay. So I am subscribed to, on Spotify, there's the official Guardians of the Galaxy combined soundtrack put out by, like, Disney's Hollywood Records brand.
Sure.
And it's all the songs from the first 2 movies plus the score tracks. Like, I've got it saved. I'll go back and listen to this thing every couple weeks or something. It's a soundtrack I like.
Cool.
And I was listening to it yesterday, and 2 brand new songs were on it, which surprised me. And it's The Rubber Band Man, which we heard, like, that's the song playing when, like, Peter first shows up flying his spaceship. And then it's also Don't Stop Me Now by Queen, which is not in this movie.
Interesting.
And so I've got a mystery to figure out. If, like, this was tied to a scene and they ended up cutting it, what does it mean? Why is this in here? But so I listened to Rubber Band Man, and I start.
Was that not in the movies before?
I don't think it's in them.
I could be completely wrong, but for, like, I mean, I guess with what they do with their soundtracks, I can easily see that song being in there. So maybe I'm just kind of making up, like, I vaguely remember it being in one of the movies.
Same, like, I'm like 90% sure it wasn't, but, like, it easily could be. I don't know, and it's so famously tied to Shaun of the Dead, like, I can't.
Yeah.
Like, would it be in any other modern movie? I don't know. But so I was listening to the Rubber Band Man song, and I'm like, you know what a rubber band does? It stretches out, and then it goes back to exactly what it was at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this is, like, just a fun, poppy, very Guardians of the Galaxy style song to put over when, you know, they first show up in the film.
Don't worry, because Guardians 3 is also coming.
Yeah, but it, like, it means something. Like, we're gonna snap back.
Which is
and
now
like, maybe
retitled the Rocket movie. Rocket Raccoon.
Rocket and Friends. It's just Rocket and Kraglin the
Rocket
whole time.
Yeah.
It's 2 Sean Guns. But yeah, I'm like, oh, this feels almost prophetic. Like, when Adam Warlock arrives on the scene to help solve this problem, is he the Rubber Band Man?
Who knows?
Is the soundtrack foretelling his appearance? And I was disappointed we didn't get to see in any form Adam Warlock in this movie. I was really looking forward to him, and now I have to wait a year.
I can kind of see them not putting him in there. Especially since they didn't put Death in there. In the, like, physical manifestation version. They had a lot of Death in this film. But, yeah, so you're expecting maybe a character, maybe Adam Warlock, maybe someone like him, or filling that role.
Doctor Strange could do
to
this.
To bring back some of the characters.
Yeah, it's gonna be rubber banded, which I guess you knew, like, to begin with. Like, of course, not all of this is going to be permanent. But yeah, there's gonna be a cosmic time-space snapback. And with that time stone, I'm really intrigued by whatever it is they're going to do with that.
Yeah,
and,
whatever
like, what
Doctor
its
Strange's
limitations are.
end game is.
Yeah.
He was hinting at something, and we don't know what it is yet.
And it might be, like, I really did like what Infinity Gauntlet did, where Thanos realizes he no longer is bound to his physical body, and he becomes made out of star stuff, and then somebody realizes, oh, the gauntlet is just sitting on an...
Yeah, I can just take that.
Yeah, it's on an unembodied husk that isn't going to put up any resistance. Yoink! Yeah. Now it's me. I'm the most powerful.
Yeah. I think Nebula is definitely going to be a major player.
Yes.
In Avengers 4, it's very possible that she does something. Because again, if you've read the comics, that's basically what she does. As you mentioned, Thanos goes to that like husk thing, and he's like, you know what? I don't really need this body because it's like I'm basically God. So what do I need a body for? And then he just leaves his body, and Nebula is standing right there, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna take that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna reset everything. So here's I guess my question to you: do you feel like having it be reset would cheapen the experience, though?
I don't think so, because that's just how comics work. Like, I think even if you don't read comics, like my 62-year-old suburban mother who has never picked up a comic, I think she still knows that's how comics work. It's one long continuous loop. Things happen, they get reset. Like, there's always restarts in just what this medium's context is. So, like, I think I'm kind of expecting that, and like I don't mind it. Like, it's comics. That's what they do, and this is just big flashy comics up on a screen. And of course, you know, this is a giant franchise. All these actors, they don't want to be in these things forever.
Right.
So, yeah, I expect there will be departures, but I also expect and look forward to a lot of things rubber banding back to what they were. And, like, I'm happy about that status quo. Like, comics is a world where there are wrenches thrown into the system, but there is some form of a status quo that is kept.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I don't think you're necessarily wrong. Yes, that is what comics do. There's a revolving door all the time. I've mentioned to people like, oh yeah, I'm reading comics from the late 80s to early 90s right up to the storyline when Superman dies, and they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Superman dies?
Yeah.
What? How is he back? What the, you know? It's just like, yeah, that happens. Like, pretty much all your favorite characters have died at least 2 or 3 times, you know? That's just what happens. But at the same time, I think knowing how emotionally taxing and rewarding this film was, I like to have it all be reset completely. I'm worried that, like, well, then what was the point of that, you know?
I know it won't be 100%. I'm expecting,
I mean, yeah,
like a 30 to 75% reset.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be like a complete reset where everyone is back and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But it, you know, yeah. Do you have any more theories?
Just that I think that Tony and Pepper scene at the beginning, where he's talking about how he dreamed that they had a kid, and he's like, oh, you know, we named the kid after your weird uncle. What's his name? And she says, Morgan. And I'm like, if this was just a joke, they would have picked a weirder name. The name Morgan is too, like, normal and solid sounding to be thrown away like this. Does that make sense?
I guess so.
Morgan Stark is too good of a comic book movie name to not be put to use. And I can definitely see, if he's not dead, then Tony Stark definitely, like, I am officially retiring. I cannot do this anymore. I'm going to start a family. And then, like, you know, half a dozen movies from now, then we've got
Morgan. Yeah,
young baby Morgan Stark stepping up the game.
I mean, for his character in particular, there hasn't really been anyone else to be Iron Man. However, more recently, there's a character named Riri Williams, who is this young little black girl, and she basically makes her own Iron Man suit in her college dorm.
Way to go!
Yeah, and she picks the name, what's her name? Ironheart, I think is her name. I don't read her book, but you know, like, there's precedents for other, like, Iron Man type characters. Not that I necessarily think we need to have one going forward, but
yeah, I'm happy with War Machine.
Yeah, and even then, I don't imagine War Machine sticking around much longer. You know?
Yeah.
So I have some theories
Yes.
that I want to kind of talk about with you. I've been talking with a whole bunch of people in different like Discord channels that I'm in and stuff like that. And I was direct messaging a friend of mine on Twitter who was like, if anyone knows what the ending of that movie meant, let me know. And I was like, I got you, dude. Let me know. Ask away.
Oh, yeah.
And
when that final frame of the movie shows up, when it's the Captain Marvel logo on the weird little analog communicator.
Beeper.
Yeah, basically a beeper. There were a surprising amount of people in the audience at my theater that were like, who's that? What does that mean? And I just mutter to myself, half the people in this theater think he just tried to call a holiday sweater. And then the woman next to me laughed out loud. Because it is, if you don't know what it is, it's just like blue and red and like a big star and like some zigzag lines, and it's like he called Christmas, I guess.
He called the ghost of Christmas past.
Yeah, I was surprised that I didn't come from a nerdier theater. Like, oh, you guys, you're not up on Captain Marvel?
I'm sure like my theater was a mixed bag as well, but in my head, knowing what it was and seeing it, I'm just like, yes! Like, I know what's happening. I know what's coming, kind of, you know.
Of course they save her for the last second, because, like, we all knew she was coming somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if you've made it this far and you still didn't understand that end scene, Nick Fury called Captain Marvel, who is another Marvel-related character, who, in short, got her powers from an alien race called the Kree. I think there's been mention of the Kree in one of the Guardians films.
Yeah, I think that's the first one. Yeah, that's Ronan the Accuser. He either is them or hates them. I don't remember.
Something like that. Yeah, we've heard mention of them, but we haven't really seen them. Long story short, I think in the comics, she's almost dying, and an alien named Marvel, who is a Kree, someone misheard his name in, like, this is what happens in the comic. His name is Marvel. Someone mispronounces it and says Marvel. And so hence the name Captain Marvel. And he's the first Captain Marvel. But then I think Carol Danvers, who is the one we will see in the Captain Marvel film, she ends up getting hurt, and he saves her by, like, donating his DNA or something. I don't know, something like that. So she has this, like, hybrid DNA, which gives her these incredible powers. And she is Captain Marvel. So I'm excited to see what happens with her. I don't really know much about her character.
Yeah.
I know that, well, so Nick Fury calls her. We don't really know what's going to happen too much beyond that. We know some details about her film, which I'll mention in just a sec. But it's Kevin Feige has said that that Captain Marvel will very quickly establish herself as the strongest character in the MCU. Sure, which who know, that might be semantics. It's like, yeah, she has really strong energy blasts, but is she really the, like, physically strongest? Is she, what does that exactly mean?
Yeah, and, like, there's characters like Doctor Strange that, like, maybe aren't as good of fighters, but they have this sort of temporal power.
He's like a level 79 warlock,
Yes.
Magic space wizard, go get him. You're embarrassing me in front of the wizards. But so we know she. If you've been paying attention to kind of news and what interviews are saying and stuff like that, she's going to come and enter the picture, and I don't want to say that she's going to solve it all, but she's going to come in and she's going to fuck some things up. And it's going to be awesome. But here's what we know about her movie so far. One, that it will take place in the 90s, before the events of
Yes.
Iron Man 1. 2, that she's going to be fighting the Skrulls, which is another
Oh.
alien race, and they are shapeshifters.
I don't think I heard about them. Okay.
They're more famously known, I guess, they originated in the Fantastic Four comic. So
Okay.
it's one of those things like, how exactly did you work it out to get them? Because you haven't really bought Fox yet, which they would be a Fox property if I'm not mistaken, because X-Men and Fantastic
Yeah.
Four are both on Fox. But yeah, they've said that she will be fighting the Skrulls, which are these shape-shifting aliens. Why that's important for Captain Marvel is the Kree and the Skrulls hate each other, and they've been at war for a long, long time. And the Kree kind of have a hive mind thing. There's the Kree supreme intelligence. So anyone or all the Kree have this like hive mind mentality. But there's a famous comic storyline that I have somewhere here on my shelf. Where can I find it? Where can I pull it out of thin air? I will show you. You can't really see it too well on this.
Okay.
It's called Secret Invasion. Basically, the story is that the Skrulls have been infiltrating Earth for years. And kidnapping and replacing the heroes we know and love. And so the people who you actually thought was like Captain America or stuff like that are actually Skrulls. And they eventually find out, and they're like, wait, okay, which one of you is an alien, which one of you is real, and no one knows, and stuff like that. But there's a big scene where all of the heroes kind of come back at the end, like the real ones. They were all kidnapped and stuff, and so they eventually escape and come back to Earth, and they kick some ass. But it's so that's kind of another ingredient. Like, okay, that's going to be in play. We have Captain Marvel, we have the Skrulls, and we know that Doctor Strange did some time travel stuff. And he said there was like 14 million something. Like he watched Infinity War 14 million times, and he didn't give any spoilers. That was also another meme that I saw. But he has some kind of ends game that he's playing for, which is why he was so ready to give up the Time Stone. He knows that they kind of have to lose to win. If they lose, maybe that's what causes Nick Fury to call Captain Marvel, which if Captain Marvel comes, all this stuff, but we have to, like, for this to work, like, Captain Marvel needs to be established in the MCU. So my thought is, what if instead of just going into the future to find all the timelines, what if Doctor Strange found the one that worked and briefly went into the past to, like, warn her or, like, set her up? Like, we need your help. Talk to Nick Fury. And she's like, Nick Fury, I know this guy. Like, shit, this must be real, So I'm wondering if there's something going on like that. Maybe that's the end credits scene of, like, her film or something like that. Because, like you said, there's this obvious reset that is going to happen, but we don't know exactly how or what is going to happen after that. And there's precedence in the comics for Captain Marvel destroying the Tesseract. Which, if she does that, if she is, like, if her mission after her film is to go and destroy the Infinity Stones before they ever get into Thanos' hands, that would be neat and would change the timeline, right? But again, it's that complicated thing. Like, do we really want it reset because the emotional stuff was so good? But if that didn't really matter, then I don't know. But here's as I was thinking about it, I'm like, you know what? That might actually not be so bad. And here's why.
Yeah.
Because if she goes back to World War II with the help of like Nick Fury or Doctor Strange or whoever, if she goes back to World War II and destroys the Tesseract, which was the first Infinity Stone that we saw, then Red Skull will actually die. He won't become the guardian of the Soul Stone, which then either means no one will know where to find it or how to get it.
Yeah.
Which kind of takes that one out of play. Also takes the Tesseract out of play. But then maybe Steve won't have to put the plane in the ice.
He can live with Peggy.
Maybe he can take Peggy for that dance.
Oh.
Maybe they can grow old together without killing Captain America. Maybe that's how they get him out of the picture, right?
Yeah.
If World War II ends a little differently, maybe Howard Stark stops making weapons. Maybe Tony Stark never has to make weapons. Maybe he's just a big tech guy.
Yeah.
Maybe he meets Pepper, they get married, and they have a kid because he never became Iron Man. Or maybe it's something else, like maybe he did make the weapons, and what if he died in the cave?
Oh.
You know?
He can't die in the cave because then who makes Peter Parker his suit? Like, he made his own suit, but it's not as good.
That's the thing. There might, with the Infinity Stones and the reset, there can be all sorts of things because Peter Parker is an inventor. Like, that is his thing. He's a big science nerd. And in the comics, he makes his own suits and stuff like that, and they have like stealth tech and things like that. But yeah, so like it'd be like there are ways to get these heroes the happy endings that would have that emotional payoff. That's like I want to see Steve and Peggy again. Like, that'd be amazing. And
she can zip around space and time and save Heimdall too.
Yeah. So there'd be stuff like that, but that would take 2 of the Infinity Stones out of play. Maybe that's the thing then where, like, well, if the Tesseract also wasn't in play, maybe Loki, if they go to Earth, doesn't learn about the Tesseract.
Yeah.
Doesn't then go to Thanos afterwards to, like, let him know about these stones and stuff like that. So there's some kind of way that they can get around this. Because at first I was like, well, do they only reset the events of Infinity War, or do they go farther back,
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what'll happen there, but that's kind of my bet. That something is going to happen with Captain Marvel, the Skrulls, the Time Stone, and maybe Nebula.
Yes.
Because also, like, what if everyone, at least in the Avengers, that got destroyed, that died, what if they were Skrulls? You know what I mean? Like, and then all of the real heroes come back, like, sorry, we got kidnapped years ago,
We've all been in ice.
Yeah.
We've all been in caves.
Yeah. Captain, we know what it was like now. Yeah, so like maybe instead of destroying the Infinity Stones, Captain Marvel sets it up so that she saves these people by kind of kidnapping them and replacing them with Skrulls somehow. I mean, she's kind of an enemy of the Skrulls, so I don't know if that would work. That might not work, but yeah, I don't know.
I like that theory a lot. That sounds good. That's an emotional payoff I'd be satisfied with.
Because the creators, the like writers and directors and all that stuff have already said that Avengers 4 is going to be bigger and better than Infinity War, and that's like mind-boggling. Like, what do you mean bigger? What do you what? Like, no, this was like $400 million to make. Like, yeah. But I still don't know what to expect. And you mentioned that they don't know what the title is going to. Well,
yes. What are your ideas?
They do know what the title is going to be, but they haven't told anyone yet. Originally, it was supposed to be Infinity War Part 2. And then they kind of walked that back and was like, we're actually going to give it its own title, which makes me think that the title is kind of spoilery.
Yes, yes.
For people who know the comics and stuff like that, it's potentially spoilery. And of course, once they say that, then it's like, oh, this is what's going to happen, blah, 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 blah. And so something like Secret Invasion would, one, it sounds dope.
Yes.
And because topping Infinity War, you have to do something that sounds cool. I heard someone else say Endgame or Aftermath, and I'm like,
But those are too general.
Yeah, that's way too general. I feel like I've seen other movies called the exact same thing, But yeah, they have a habit of we're doing this storyline, or we're taking the idea of this storyline and taking the title of that and using that as the core of our film. So yes, I think something like Infinity War, Secret Invasion would be you have my attention. What what is this? What is the Secret Invasion you speak of? Another one I thought of, actually, Eric Mannix mentioned it on our Infinity Gauntlet episode of the review show. That's out now. You guys can go check it out. There's another famous Avengers book called Avengers Forever that I think might be kind of cool. And from what I understand, they probably wouldn't do much of what the actual story is about. But from what I hear, there's some time travel involved, and it's kind of about legacy. The whole idea of hey, the Avengers will always be here, And so I think that kind of idea, that kind of hopeful, triumphant idea, is kind of a good capstone to end this saga of what we know of the MCU so far. So something like Avengers Forever might be cool. I don't think it, it's not as ooh, that sounds dope, as Secret Invasion. But I don't know. But their biggest movies so far have been Civil War, Infinity War. They also have a comic called Secret War.
Yes, I'm familiar with Secret War.
Which was basically just a big toy commercial.
Yep.
But I could see them kind of going with something like that. I don't know if that's, really, because that's the thing. So, actually, I do have one more question for you regarding Infinity War. At the end of the film, after Thanos snaps his fingers and we get that brief scene of him and Gamora, baby Gamora, in that isolated, we don't even know where it is or what it is, or who would, how do you want better? Yeah. Why, Gamora?
Why is it?
And Gamora asks him, what did it cost you? And he responds, everything.
Yeah.
What do you think he meant by that? Because on one hand, it's easy to say Gamora was his everything, right? That's why he was crying when he had to sacrifice her and stuff like that.
And there's also a nice book, a nice callback to when she's saying goodbye to Peter Quill and she says, I love you more than anything. That's kind of a parallel to the language she used.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the easy, obvious response. But I felt like she was referring to not herself, not what did all of it, she was only one part, but what did all of this, what did snapping your fingers, what did that not accomplish, but what did that cost you? It wasn't about her, is what I felt like.
Yeah.
And he said everything. And I don't I don't know exactly what that meant.
Yeah.
Because obviously in the Infinity Gauntlet comic, the power is literally taken from him. And there's that ironic ending where he's the one that wanted the power but doesn't have it, and is now this peasant-looking guy on this weird farm, God knows where, And Adam Warlock was the one that ended up with the power, but he didn't want it. He was that like dispassionate, twice removed from all humanity and life, but he now knows the secrets of the universe. So, what did Thanos lose then? Is he referring to something else?
What's his goal now? This kind of goes back to like
because that's
Ego's
that's
goal
the thing.
in Guardians 2.
He accomplished his goal though.
Yeah. Now what does he do?
I mean,
like he wanted to kill half the population. What's next on his agenda?
I mean, it's not even so much that he's that like what is he gonna do next, but like what did he lose to get where he is now?
He lost purpose, maybe.
Yeah, sure. So like that was something that kind of stood out to me of just like what what does this mean? Something is not right. Going with the Secret War possible title, the idea of Secret War is that the Beyonder pulls a whole bunch of people from the universe and just is like, okay, fight.
Yep.
And that's it. That's the storyline. And it's not good guys versus bad guys. It's like, okay, this side versus that side, go. It's like, wait, Magneto's on the same side as Doctor Doom, who's on the same side as Peter Parker, who's on the same side as the X-Men, but over here the Avengers, and it's like that. I don't know. So I literally just thought of this as we were talking. What if what if all of those people didn't die and it's the Beyonder or something who just pulled all of these people out? Like whatever Thanos didn't actually work. And there is this battle world, as they call it in Secret Wars, and they have to battle their way out of that and then get back to Earth and finally clean up the mess.
That's interesting. The only thing is that I feel like if Marvel wanted to do Secret War seems like it would be more fun than what Infinity War was. Like Secret War seems like something they do in a couple years when they've got the 20th Century Fox stuff integrated, and it's like, okay, let's play with all our new toys together.
Yeah, it's the one that I don't know. It's like, okay, how would you make this the emotional payoff that we all want it to be? How is this going to be bigger or better? Stuff like that. So it's a stretch, probably unlikely. But speculation. Who knows?
Yeah. The way this movie went, it took so many turns that I could not see coming a continent away.
Yeah.
They're gonna pull stuff out for whatever this fourth movie is that nobody's gonna see coming at all. They sprung Red Skull on us. Who's next?
Yeah. We're gonna get the Howling Commandos back.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, who knows?
Dum Dugan. I don't know, man. This is lots of stuff is happening. Good film.
Good, very good. Yeah,
great film.
One of the best for sure. I'll have to see it again another couple times and let it sink in, but yeah, I'm very impressed.
I just bought myself Movie Pass, so I'm hoping to get my card for that soon and then go back and watch it again, because it's only been you saw it last night. I've had a whole day and a half to stew on.
You got a leg up on me
on it. Yeah, so I and I'm still just what the hell happened?
Yeah.
Because that was almost one of the things I didn't expect it. I at first was oh, they're gonna end it with the snap, and like we're not gonna get to know, and then like more details came out. I was like, nah, that's not gonna happen. They're actually gonna, if they're not calling Avengers 4 Infinity War Part 2, like they're gonna kind of wrap it up. And they said like we're gonna wrap this movie up, and you can watch this film and that'll be it. Like you don't need to watch anything else. And I mean, sure, that's absolutely not true, but in the idea that it has an arc, and the arc kind of completes, especially from Thanos's perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like he gets the stones, he does what he's gonna do, and that's it, done.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of what they meant of like, hey, it is its own complete story. But I don't know, man. Next year cannot come soon enough.
Yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasp is also supposedly taking place before the events of this. Which I think
I'm very intrigued about that too.
I think is the events of whatever War Machine was like. They're on a mission right now. Like, we can't reach them, which at the same time is like, what's more important? But we also don't know what their mission is, Maybe it has something to
and
do.
like the kind of quantum nonsense they get up to, maybe they are like, they physically cannot be able to help for whatever reason.
Technically, yes, because what we kind of know of the film of that too, they're searching for Janet, the original. I think that they've named her Janet. Hank Pym's wife.
Her name's Janet.
They're searching for her in the like like the sub, so that's the thing. They might be indisposed or trapped there. But the way it sounded to me, it sounded like Hawkeye was with them.
No, I think he said something like they have taken themselves out both just as fathers.
Well, because the way it sounded to me is that they won't be available for this because they are on some other mission right now. They're doing something else already. And we don't know what Hawkeye is up to.
Yeah.
But I kind of took that as, they're together. Like we might see Hawkeye show up in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I'd like that a lot.
Which might be neat because, I mean, one of the classic things in the comics is Hawkeye shooting an arrow with Ant-Man on top of it, which they did in Civil War,
Yeah.
So there'd be stuff like that. But Hawkeye also has, originally he was a bad guy. And Hank Pym is, not Hank, but, the Ant-Man is basically a criminal. Scott is basically a criminal.
Yeah.
And so to see the criminals team up would be kind of cool.
That sounds lovely.
I mean, I guess technically Captain America is a criminal too now, but semantics. But I get the feeling that overall their movie won't have a big impact on the overall universe. We'll just get to see what they were up to. Like, side note, you can also read Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is out this week.
I think it will only give us dramatic irony and not any actual plot progress regarding the events of Infinity War.
Or he's gonna come out of the microverse after half the people are dead and just be like, oh shit.
Yeah. Oh, the post-credit scene, when that van crashes into Nick Fury and Maria Hill and there's no driver, I thought Ant-Man. It's Scott and he's just very small.
Because at first I was like, maybe this is time travel because this looks like the scene in Winter Soldier. Maybe this is taking place in the past. And then the crash happens. Okay, it's playing out differently. No driver, Ant-Man. Yes, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, no, I wasn't the only person who thought
Maria
that.
Hill is evaporating. Fuck. Okay, this is happening now. Shit. So, I don't know. Crazy stuff.
One final thing. I don't know if they'll do it or not. I want to believe that they will do it. I have hope that they will do it.
What's that?
I never actually watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know where Coulson stands, but I would like... If he can't appear, a mention of Coulson in Avengers 4, again, just to bookend it. Like,
Very
back to...
possible.
Yeah,
I'm
the
not...
Shawarma 6 and Nick Fury and Phil Coulson.
I'm not up to date on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm like a season and a half behind. But yeah, Agent Coulson is alive.
Okay.
He's out
Good.
there.
Good.
And he's basically running S.H.I.E.L.D. right now. Yes, S.H.I.E.L.D. did go away in Winter Soldier, but then in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, Nick Fury made an appearance and was like, I'm leaving S.H.I.E.L.D. to you. Rebuild it. So he's been slowly doing that. But it's also been confirmed that he will appear in the Captain Marvel film.
Oh, yes.
So we'll get
of
to
course
see,
he would. That's so exciting.
It takes place before, he died in Avengers. So, yeah. S.H.I.E.L.D. it's good, but with a caveat. First season is terrible.
That's what I've heard, that it had a shaky start.
It gets better when the events of the Winter Soldier hit, and it ties in. But even then, it still has its ups and downs. It's like, okay, this is not as interesting or as good. Or like, oh, this one thing is really good. Like, this is sweet. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Good film.
Yeah.
I'm excited
Yes.
to see what happens next. I am waiting on bated breath.
Yes.
Cool. Well, that being said, I've mentioned a couple times, but our episode on Infinity Gauntlet, the comics that this movie is kind of based off of, loosely, is out and available right now. You can go listen to that as a podcast or on YouTube or on Spotify, wherever you would like to listen. So please go check that out. Read the book if you liked the movie. Go see what the original had to say, and then go check out more of our podcasts. That would be super helpful. Like, subscribe, share, do whatever you got to do to help spread the word, because that would be super helpful to us. If you liked this show, if you like any of our other shows, please go support us on patreon.com/the Whatnauts. You can sign up for as little as $1, and it's basically pocket change, guys, and you can help us out a ton. Without your support, it's all coming out of our pockets, and the more support we get, the bigger and better content we can make for you guys. But hey, if you just want to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, that is a-okay too. Just have some fun, That being said, you can follow us on Twitter at the Whatnauts. All of our shows will be up there. We actually kind of just announced a new show, which will be out hopefully soon. It's called Questionable Commentary. And Eric Mannix, who was on the most recent episode of the review show on our Infinity Gauntlet episode, he is going to be co-hosting that show with Jess. I believe her last name is pronounced Beaver, but I could be wrong, and it could be Bever. I haven't actually asked her how to pronounce it yet, so we'll see. And if she hears this, she can correct me, or I should just go ask her, and actually be smart. But they're going to be doing a movie commentary podcast. They already have a bunch of episodes in the can. We're just working on finalizing details and getting our website up and stuff like that, so everything can go smooth as possible. I'm excited. You've mentioned, you're like, oh, I'm super excited about this new show. It's gonna be sweet.
Yeah, I love commentaries, and there aren't enough podcasts I've encountered that are done in an audio commentary format.
Yeah, cool, good stuff. Where can the listeners find you, Melissa?
I am on Twitter at Wilkywit. That's WIKWILKYWIT. I never have to say it out loud. I'm newer to podcasting, so it's like, oh, I still have to get my patter down every time I do this.
That's okay.
And
I screw things up all the time.
Yeah, and I am a cast member on the live play RPG podcast, The Lost Library, on the Grayscale storyline. And my first actual playing episode should be coming up here pretty soon.
Cool. Sounds good. You can find me personally at Hush315 on Twitter. So yeah, go like, share, subscribe. Let us know what you thought of this movie. But, be careful of spoilers for other people who still haven't seen it. But we hope you enjoyed this. We don't know exactly when the next episode of the Reactor Corps will be, because this is one that we don't do regularly. But I'm assuming we're going to do one for like Solo or something like that. Maybe Deadpool.
Yeah, you'll probably see us again in May.
Yeah, you'll see us again eventually. But for now, thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you next time. Adios, guys.
Bye.
Bye.